the same time. When God made Adam, He knew exactly what He was doing, and it, bang, it was functioning at the right time. And I say here, this argues for a conclusion that this design was fully functional. Whoa! Francis Crick, co-discoverer of DNA, in his book Natural History, said this: biologists must constantly keep reminding themselves that what they see was not designed, but rather evolved. Rather evolved. They have to, you know why they have to keep reminding themselves? Because as you study this stuff, and as you sit in med school and you listen to this, you begin to ask, how could this evolve? How could this evolve? How could this is far more complex than I ever anticipated, but I believe it evolved. I believe. And you see, it's this brainwashing that forces them into it. Whew. Okay. Ready for a breather? No. All right. Let's talk about this. Fertilization. Wow, you guys have got lower humidity than South Dakota here. Highly complex process. Now, wait a second. Isn't fertilization just something simple, you know, where Sammy's sperm meets Elvira egg and bang, and it happens? And how can you say it's complex? You know, teenagers seem to make it work first time out of the block in the back of a car. And it never seems to be that hard. However, it is. It is a complex and it is a difficult process. And we're going to see, what does it take just in order for an egg to be fertilized? Well, what is fertilization? It's there actually when a sperm penetrates the oocyte. What's another name for an oocyte? An egg. An egg. You know, we can't ever call anything simple like an egg. It's got to be an oocyte. Forming a zygote. You know, and that's just a ball of cells that have started to divide. So the sperm meets the egg, they start to divide, and that's called a zygote, which is the first cell of a new human being, and it says there, precise anatomical features allow this sperm and the egg to meet. Oh, we're not going to read this here. I just thought I would throw this slide up here, talking about mitosis and meiosis. How many of you remember that from biology? Mitosis and meiosis. But you probably don't remember what it means. All right, we're not going to talk about this, but this is another nail in the evolutionary coffin there. Mitosis is when your body cells, they constantly are dividing, making new cells. And meiosis is what takes place in the gonads. That's another name for a testicle or an ovary. And as these germ cells, otherwise known as a sperm and an egg, begin to develop, they go through a system of meiosis, in which the original 46 chromosomes in a human cell goes through a process, so a sperm only has 23 and an egg only has 23. So that when they unite, you end up with 46 again. And it's a very, very complex process. But look what this person said at the very bottom, just this last part. Moreover, if meiosis did not occur, the chromosomal number would double with each successive generation, resulting in daughter cells packed with redundant genetic material, which would cause what? Lethal developmental problems. Of course, you're going to ask your evolutionary friends, how many times through random genetic mistakes did it take for meiosis to ever evolve, to cut the chromosomes in half? And you know, this doesn't just happen in human beings, it happens in other creatures as well. In order to get to that, you don't cut the chromosomes in half, you end up with what? Lethal developmental mistakes. That brings an end to evolution. And so it can't continue. So this whole process had to develop. Well, here's a nice picture of what happens. And so we have an ovary up here and we have a testicle here. And they go through a process of dividing. Now, all male chromosomes, there's 46 of them, and one of them is an X and one of them is a Y. We all carry an X and a Y, and a big old X chromosome and a stubby little Y chromosome there. And that's what we have, 46 X and Y. Women all have 46 chromosomes, and both of them are a big long X chromosome, big long X. So they're 46 XXs, and we're 46 XYs, and that's why when you turn on TV shows now, you see the XXXY thing, and that's what they're talking about, male and female. Now, as one of these sperm begins to divide through the process of meiosis, you'll end up with 4 tiny little spermatids right there. And 2 of them are going to be 23X, and 2 of them are going to be 23Y. Through the whole process of developing, only 1 of these eggs is going to ovulate, and all of that extra genetic material is going to be put aside inside the egg as a polar body. So you're going to have 1 egg ovulated as a 26X. 4 sperm are going to develop from a single spermatogonia. 2 23X, 2 23Y. So when it comes time to determine the sex of the baby, who does it? Mom or dad? Dad. And they produce them at a 50-50 ratio. 50 X's, 50% Y's on that. So it's a 50-50 ratio, and it's just basically whichever one gets to the egg first is going to determine whether it's an X or a Y. Now at the end of the talk, I always have questions about what kind of secret techniques are there for getting an X or getting a Y. And there's no secret techniques. You know, there's no techniques. Are they all going to swim up there, and whichever one is it, that's the one it is. So you can't, dads, you can't like separate the sperm out through some special process. It's just not going to happen. They're microscopic. You can't even see them. So there's no way to do it. They're all mixed up, and there they go. All right. Here's a little additional thing at no charge. Here's 2 quotes from 2 medical texts. Look what they say. Human development begins at fertilization when a male gamete or sperm fuses with the female gamete or ovum. What's another name for an ovum? And another name is an oocyte. There you go. To form a zygote. The zygote is look what it says. The zygote is the first cell of a new human being. By birth, this one cell is given to rise to blah, 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 many others. It doesn't say the first cell of a potential human being, a partial human being. It says first cell of a new human being. And what does Marieb say in her text? Fertilization occurs at the moment the genetic material of the sperm combines with that of an ovum to form a fertilized egg or zygote, which represents the first cell of a new individual. Totally new, absolutely and completely unique. In other words, that genetic material, of which 23 have been from dad and 23 from mom, and dad has shuffled his around a little bit and mom has shuffled hers around a little bit, and it's going to combine, that information is going to be unique to that person and nobody else that has or will ever live on this